There has been a lot happening in the world of precious metals. A lot of it is centered around price and the movement of metal. However, there is something that is falling under the radar that I'm going to be talking about in this video that I think we should be very concerned about. And I'll talk about it in this video as we explore. I like to bring you the latest news in the world of precious metals and all aspects of it. I've done videos on mining. I've done videos on the business side of precious metals. I've also talked about various different dealers. And for the first time, I'm actually now sponsored by a bullion dealer, Summit Metals, one of the fastest growing bullion dealers on the planet right now. Now, I mentioned them in this case in a different aspect because they are one of the fastest growing. There's a lot happening in the world of precious metal dealers right now. But there is a king of precious metal dealers out there. In fact, it's such a big conglomerate, you can't even call them a dealer. They have been swallowing up dealers left and right. No question about that. And this is something else that I have also been talking about in the world of precious metals, and that is the biggest precious metals company on the planet, A-Mark Precious Metals. If you are a vintage silver bar collector, the name means a whole lot more to you, or has a specific meaning in terms of the kinds of vintage silver that you can buy with the name. Now, there's still A-Mark products out there that I think are still being produced, but nonetheless, that is really minor in compared to their influence. They have a massive influence because they own not only a lot of precious metal dealers, but they also own other companies that are involved in the supply chain of precious metals. Yes, and they have a tie, at least in part, to BlackRock as well. Pretty much every bullion dealer that you can think of has been touched by or is owned by, in some capacity, by A-Mark Precious Metals. There's really only a handful of big dealers and a whole lot more of medium-sized dealers that are not owned by A-Mark Precious Metals. Summit Metals is one of those, and I like that a company can grow in and of its own. They have not been bought out, and they are continuing to grow in and of their own accord, and they're growing fast and managing the growth well. And there's other great precious metal companies out there as well that aren't owned by them. But it's sad to see. I first reported on this channel many years ago when JM Bullion bought out Provident Metals. And then JM Bullion got bought out by A-Mark Precious Metals, who bought out a bunch of other companies. It's crazy. Well, they have now made this new press release and announcement here. And this just makes it all the more clear that they are continuing to grow. And I'm going to explain here in a moment why it's a big deal and why it is dangerous for us here. So just bear with me. A-Mark Precious Metals has announced two significant developments: a quarterly cash dividend and an acquisition completion. It has declared a quarterly cash dividend of 20 cents per share payable on April the 29th to stockholders of record as of April 15th. Additionally, on April 1st, A-Mark completed the acquisition of the remaining 90% stake in AMS Holdings. If you've not heard of AMS Holdings, they operate the Perth brand, which I think includes Modern Coin Mart. AMS, founded in 1984, employs over 150 sales representatives specializing in vintage and modern coin collections. The acquisition company reported total revenue of $203.8 million, and that is for the year ending December the 31st, 2024. And from this StockTitan.net, they have no negatives to this. I guess if you're an investor, there's no negatives to this. But the positive is that they have grown even more. Acquisition of the remaining 90% stake of AMS Holding expands A-Mark's precious metal platform. And A-Mark Precious Metals is a leading, fully integrated precious metals platform. Indeed, it is. No question about that. More so now with this acquisition. And they have declared this quarterly cash dividend as well, so they're profiting big time. And they were founded back in 1965. A-Mark Precious Metals is a leading fully integrated precious metals platform that offers an array of gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and copper bullion, numismatic coins, and related products to wholesale and retail customers via a portfolio of channels. Yes, that's the understatement of the year, or maybe the understatement of the decade. Through a portfolio of channels, the company conducts operations through three complementary segments: wholesale sales and ancillary services, direct-to-consumer, and secured lending. The company's global consumer base spans sovereign and private mints, manufacturers, fabricators, refiners, dealers, financial institutions, industrial users, investors, collectors, e-commerce customers, and other retail customers. And their wholesale sales and ancillary services segment distributes and purchases precious metal products from sovereign and private mints. As a U.S. Mint authorized purchaser of gold, silver, and platinum coins since 1986, A-Mark purchases bullion products directly from the U.S. Mint for sale to its customers. That means all the companies owned by A-Mark have an advantage in pricing, rather than, especially for companies that don't have that direct tie. There's only a handful of others that are authorized purchasers. And they have also bought up Stack's Bowers Galleries. They've got Pinehurst Coin Exchange, LPM Group out of Asia, which I've done business with them before. They've got them as well, too. So they're global now. It's crazy. Now, why is this dangerous? Well, and again, all of this could be above board and legal. I'm sure it is. But the bigger they grow, they could become a monopoly, or have a monopolistic tendencies to the point where they can undercut everybody else until such a point is a time when they can overcut and drown everybody else out, or they may have the exclusives, and many times they do on certain products. And of course, we see that with other companies too. Amex, for instance, is a company that has the exclusives on things, and of course, they're known for throttling up their prices upwards because they know they can get away with it because they're the only ones that carry it. And so the only way you can get that coin is through them or product. And so that can happen en masse, essentially, with A-Mark. They could have such a control over the precious metals market and the retail side of it that could have an impact on you. Or taking it out to an extreme situation, if they continue to grow and gobble up more companies to the point where they literally undersell, putting other companies out of business, they can be the or one of the very few bullion dealers left on the platform, on the internet. And who knows how many retail places they could buy. It can bear itself out to the actual end means, which means that if they were tied to some organization like BlackRock or some other group closely tied to the government, and the government says, well, you know what, we don't want you selling any more precious metals. We'll keep you afloat. We'll give you subsidies, but we don't want the public to be owning any precious metals for now. If you could pause sales for a little while, that would be great. And I know that sounds like an extreme position, but think about how extremely big they've gotten and how much of the supply chain they have a dominant factor in right now. They're a dominant player in much of the supply chain for precious metals right now. And again, I don't want to sound alarmist, but this is dangerous taken to its ultimate end that it could be. Because I see these stories pop up, and I may do a video on one from time to time, but not every little acquisition am I going to do a video on. And this one is relatively small. I guess if it's a remaining 90%, that means they're fully allocated in ownership up to 90% of the company of government. However, might as well get the rest of the 10%. Who knows where that is? But nonetheless, they've completed. They've grown, and honestly, 5 years ago, I never thought they would have continued in this manner. I never thought they would have gobbled up Stack's Bowers, for instance. Man, it's crazy to think about it. But nonetheless, they keep growing, and it keeps causing great concern for me. And really, something should be of concern to you. Now, what can we do about it? Nothing. And if there's coins that you buy from one of these companies that they have accumulated, well, if you can find a good deal, who wouldn't buy from there? But I would consider looking at alternatives, whoever that may be. And I try, if I can, to prioritize some of those alternatives if I can. And Summit Metals really is making a name for themselves. And I'm not just saying that because they're a channel sponsor, because they really do have some of the lowest prices, especially for fractional gold and some silver products as well too. And so just keep that in your mind. Look for companies that are independent, that are in and of themselves. I think they're going to be the most customer focused. And again, I don't want to bash the companies that are under a mark. I'm sure there's a lot of holdovers left over from the times when they were independent, the people working there. And I'm sure there's a lot of good people there, and again, some of the selection is second to none for obvious reasons. But nonetheless, I just think that this is a pretty big deal, and it's pretty concerning. And so I don't know where this is going to play out. I don't know legally. I am a free market guy, and I think that stuff like this maybe falls under it. But it could be bad if it's taken to its full potential in a bad way. So we'll see how it plays out. But nonetheless, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Do you think I'm overblowing this? Or do you think this is a concern as well? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. I do try to post daily content in the world of news regarding precious metals. If you enjoy what I do here, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel. Trying to get 100,000 of those by the end of the year. So with that, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.